Hello guys and welcome to VoloKin Project. Today I'm gonna do a quick review of the Sony Xperia XZ2. Probably the most radical change of design Sony ever had, but it was way overdue in my opinion. Now the phone is pretty much half price. You can go on eBay and get one for just as little as 300 quid. So, is it worth it? Let's find out. Now, starting off with design and build quality, this phone is a little bit weird. Simply because check how the back is rounded over here, guys. It looks like the battery is expanded and it's gonna blow anytime. But on the other hand, when you hold it in your hand like that, it's extremely comfortable. And it definitely helps the grip because this phone is slippery as you can imagine, guys, simply because when you leave it on a flat surface over here, it literally goes like that all the time if it's not 100% flat. And I've already dropped it on the asphalt, and as you can see, I've got a little bit of damage over here on the metal frame over here as well, but the display, there's absolutely nothing to it, and it's a very, thick display glass over here. So at the front we've got the camera and the sensors. At the bottom we've got the Sony logo, stereo speakers by the way, one over here, one over here. At the back we've got our single camera, but don't worry, the bokeh is actually quite nice on this phone, guys. We've got a bunch of other sensors over here as well. The fingerprint reader, which is placed in the weirdest position available. Basically, when you hold the phone like that, guys, you put your finger on the camera over here and not on the fingerprint reader, which is extremely uncomfortable. But otherwise, the button placement is overall great. The power button is just over here on the middle, which is fine. The volume rocker is over here on this side. And we've got a dedicated camera shutter button. You just hold it like that and it activates the camera straight away, which is actually quite nice. So yeah, once you look past, this weird design over here, the phone actually feels very substantial and very premium and high quality in the hand. You've got three colors available. There's the silver one, which is the best in my opinion, the black, and the green, which is not particularly green. But there you can see how it compares to the XZ Premium, for example, guys. You can see that it's a little bit smaller, but the display is actually bigger. Which brings us to the second topic, which is security. Now, the fingerprint reader, apart from being on a ridiculously low positioning over here, works 100% of the time. It's not one of the fastest available, but definitely is fast enough and it gets the job done. Now, when it comes down to face unlock, you've got just the regular built-in Android face unlock, guys, and let me show you how it works. Okay, not recognized. Let me do another try over here. Okay, it doesn't recognize my face from time to time, but yeah, overall the built-in Android face unlock kind of sucks, which is unfortunate, but anyway. Now, one thing that I absolutely hate about Sony phones, which has not been fixed over here, is every time you pull up the SIM tray, your phone restarts. I really don't understand why Sony is doing that. And something else as well, because this phone is IP68 certified. Check this out, guys. If you're getting your phone wet, have in mind that that's the protection that you're getting, the small rubber ring over here. I'm gonna leave it to you to decide whether or not that's a proper protection, but my advice to you is do not dip this phone in water anyway. And Sony is still doing this weird thing about the IMEI number inside. You just pull it on like that and it comes out. This is quite weird, but I guess the Sony is the only one who still does that. But yeah, let's put this one back into place and let's move on to the next section. Okay guys, what about charging the Xperia XZ2? The battery is only 3180 mAh and you would think that it's gonna charge quite quickly. Well, that's not the case. 2 hours and 30 minutes for 100% charge. This is absolutely unacceptable for a 2018 flagship, but anyway, at least the battery life is quite good, guys. You can see my screenshots over here. 8 hours 11 minutes of battery life, guys. Next screenshot. Check this out, 7 hours 29 minutes, 9 hours 3 minutes over here, 9 hours 45 minutes, almost 10 hours of screen on time, guys. 6 hours 25 minutes, quite heavy usage I can imagine with 4G camera. So yeah, overall I can't really complain of the battery life. I'm actually surprised. Well, not that much surprised because Snapdragon 845 is quite efficient, but yeah, I'm overall quite happy with the battery life. So what about the screen, you might say? That's a beautiful IPS LCD 5.7-inch HDR screen, guys. and it's only 1080p, yes, but compared to the XZ Premium over here, it is actually a brighter display and the colors are a little bit more saturated. You can see the difference for yourself over here, guys. And the only basically drawback of this screen is, check this out. Check the colors over here. I'm not sure how it seems on the camera, but this one is definitely brighter. And the only drawback of this screen are the black levels. Check this out. I'm gonna go to this picture over here. The black levels of this screen are not particularly black, guys. There's a huge IPS glow over here. I'm not sure I can show it on camera, but let me switch my lighting off and try to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can see it over here, guys. I'm gonna just reduce it a little bit like that. Okay, so that's pretty much what you see in the dark. The XZ Premium over here, it's quite inky blacks, almost on an AMOLED level, guys, where on the XZ2 over here, you can see that it's a little bit on the bluish side, but that is the only drawback of the screen. Otherwise, I'm very happy with that screen, guys. Okay, so what about headphone output, you might ask? Well, the headphone jack is missing on this phone, guys. Considering its thickness, I'm sure Sony could have included it somewhere, but apparently they didn't. Instead, they gave you this little guy over here, 3.5mm to USB Type-C dongle, which is not very good, to be honest with you. That's a very cheap, low quality dongle, and the headphone output is just about average, guys. The good thing is that you can use some other high quality dongles like the HTC dongle to improve the audio quality a little bit, but I'm really not happy of what they did over here. Now, what about the speakers on this phone? You've got one speaker over here, one speaker over here. The quality is really good, guys, but they're not super loud. Have this in mind. But it's a considerable upgrade when we talk about the Xperia XZ Premium. Check this out. Full volume over here. Check how not loud these speakers are, guys. That's maximum volume. Can you imagine? That's absolutely disgraceful, guys. And now check the maximum volume on the XZ2. Way better, isn't it? But unfortunately, both of those are no match of the 3-year-old Alcatel Idol 3 over here. Check this out, guys. Can you see the difference? Again over here. And over here. Yeah. You get my point. What's interesting about the Xperia XZ2 over here is the dynamic vibration, guys. You have a few steps of the dynamic vibration. Let me show you in a sec. Check this out. Basically, your phone vibrates depending on the equalizer. It's a little bit weird. I'm definitely not used to that, and I kind of feel it's a little bit pointless, but I guess it's made in terms of innovation. And on the positive side, well, the vibrator motor is quite strong, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's I would say a benefit rather than a gimmick. Now, when it comes down to performance and overall gaming, the Snapdragon 845 is absolutely brilliant, guys. You can see on the CastJab benchmark over here, average 130 FPS, which is absolutely ridiculous. No matter what you throw on this phone, you're not gonna have a problem. One quick side note though, this version that I have rocks only 4 GB of RAM. If you're a heavy user, get the 6 GB version. If you're not, you shouldn't care about that at all. Now let's get back to the software quickly. The phone is rocking Sony's own UI, whatever the name is, and it's pretty much close to stock Android. It offers the support of Teams and this and that, and I got a bunch of updates including Android Pie. However, I'm not one of those guys who is, overly excited about the latest and greatest Android update, but I really want, when I have a problem, when there are some bugs within the software, them to be fixed in the future iteration, which unfortunately is not the case over here. One of the problems that I have is that you have no immersive settings. If you're rocking a older application like that, you're gonna see the buttons over here, guys, and when you do a screenshot, you can see that this area is not used by the application. I really have no idea, is it that hard for Sony to implement that? But unfortunately, you don't have this option in the Android Pie. And the next thing that I'm really not happy about is, check this out guys, let me just adjust the camera a little bit like that. Okay, now it's better. The ability to swap the navigation buttons over here, there is no such an option unfortunately. I really don't like that. And the other thing is that Android Pie is ugly. Check this out guys, you cannot change these accent colors, and I really don't like this layout whatsoever. When you go to the settings menu, it's not that much different apart from one small detail. Your theme actually doesn't really change the setting menu whatsoever at all. Remember the battery shortcuts that I showed you earlier? That was before the update guys, and the theme was this kind of a, I don't know, Uncharted theme or something like that. But unfortunately the theme doesn't support properly Android Pie anymore. So basically Android Pie broke the theme functionality and you cannot enjoy your full themes anymore guys, which is a bummer at least for me. And now one other thing that I'm not particularly happy with is the lack of gestures. All you have is these buttons over here. There is no way to change to any kind of gestures unless of course you have some sort of a, third-party application installed, but that should have been available out of the box. Apart from that, as I told you, stock Android experience, very fast and fluid. You're not gonna have problems with that guys. Now when it comes down to the cameras, when we talk about the front-facing camera, the video coming out of it is actually very pleasant. One of the best software stabilizations I've seen on any phone at 1080p. Unfortunately, there is no 4K recording for whatever reason. Now, what about the selfies themselves? They look quite pleasant, the colors are nice, and the overall saturation, dynamic range and everything, but the problem you have is the details. Why is that so? 5 megapixel unit. For whatever reason, Sony decided to downgrade the camera to 5 megapixel. I guess they've realized their mistake because the megapixels are up in the XZ3 once again. So overall, great selfie camera apart from the lousy 5 megapixel resolution and lack of detail. So what about the rear camera, you might say? Only one camera. Does it mean that you have no bokeh? No, just the opposite. The bokeh is actually quite unique on this phone, guys. You've got 3 different modes on the bokeh effect. You can, lower it down, bring it up a little bit, whatever you like with the photo after you already took it. That's absolutely amazing. As well as there are plenty of shooting options of this camera. You've got a super slow motion 900 FPS as well. You've got the AR stuff, you've got the emoji stuff as well. Quite a lot of camera modes. Now, when it comes down to audio, I'm really satisfied with the microphones on this phone, guys, as well as the video recording is quite good, but only in 1080p. In 4K, the stabilization is not that good, it's a little bit shaky, and yeah, it's not very good overall. But the 1080p is actually amazing. You've got 2-step stabilization, and the second step, the intelligent active, is actually one of the best I have seen, guys. And something very important, on 60 FPS 1080p, you've got stabilization and autofocus. Quite a lot of phones are struggling with that, and the autofocus, man, it's so nice, it's so fluid, it's so subtle. I really love the autofocus of this camera, guys. Now, what about the photos? The quality of photos is actually quite good, guys. In daytime, you can take some really amazing landscapes with this phone. I'm really satisfied with it. When it comes down to low light, the situation is a little bit different though. The images are quite good, but they're quite noisy. There's been a problem with the Sony cameras for ages now. But it is what it is. It's not the best in the world, but definitely above average, and I really like the camera overall. One thing I should mention is that there is no HDR whatsoever, so you have to tweak the camera yourself. You can use the manual mode to get some sort of a, more artificial colors of that kind, but overall I'm quite happy with this camera, guys. So let's conclude this video, guys. Where does this phone stand on the VoloKin spectrum? Is it in the middle? Is it high above? Well, let's talk about briefly of the overall summary and my scoring system. The first category of the VoloKin spectrum is design and build quality, and I'm gonna give this phone 4 out of 5, simply because the design language is a little bit weird, but once you get used to it, the phone is actually quite nice in the hand, but quite slippery. The next category is security. The fingerprint placement is quite weird and uncomfortable, and face unlock doesn't work that well, so I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. The battery life deserves 4 out of 5 as well, simply because it doesn't exceed 10 hours and the slow charging is a thing. 2.5 hours is ridiculous, guys. The screen, although being only 1080p HDR screen, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5, simply because the black levels are not nearly as I wish they would be. Otherwise, it's a very nice screen, guys. Now the speakers are getting 4 out of 5 as well. Not that loud, but otherwise excellent quality, and they're both front facing, which is amazing. The headphone jack gets 3 out of 5 simply because there isn't one, and the provided adapter is of average quality. The software, although being quite simplified, gets 4 out of 5 simply because Android Pie didn't resolve any of the issues I had. The performance, Snapdragon 845, easily 5 out of 5. The selfie camera, I can't really give it more than 3 out of 5 because it has no 4K recording, as well as it's only 5 megapixel, although quite a good, probably the best 5 megapixel camera in existence, selfie one. And the rear camera, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5. I'm really a fan of the 16:9 high megapixel shots, but the 4K is not that great. You've got no proper HDR, and it's just it's not the best, guys. So 4 out of 5 is pretty reasonable. So what is the overall VoloKin Spectrum score? 38 out of 50, which is quite high considering that that's a first, iteration of the Sony, of their new bubbly design over here. And overall the phone is quite excellent, I would say, for the price. 300 quid for this phone is a bargain, guys. Considering that the XZ3, the only difference is that being an AMOLED screen and that being an LCD, basically pretty much that's the only difference between those two phones. And this one is like 300 quid, the other one is 600 quid. So definitely, if you're into the market of Sony phones, get this one. 300, you can't go wrong with this one. And most importantly, how do I feel about this phone, guys? Very nice in the hand, premium build quality. The screen didn't shatter where I dropped it, which is a plus. And overall, I'm very positive. I feel very positive about this phone, guys. And I'm sure you're gonna enjoy it, every bit of it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you in the next one. Adios.